Long before the ANC came to power and very long before Nelson Mandela was even released from prison, the National Party leader, P.F.W. Botha, radically reformed and transformed South Africa's political system away from what up to that time had been known as apartheid. 1994, when the ANC came to power, was of course a key turning point in South Africa's history. But 11 years before that, South Africa already got a completely new constitution, which was largely designed to radically move towards a more inclusive, egalitarian national parliament. South Africa's former president P.F.W. Botha is perhaps best known for his attempt to reform the system of apartheid in the 80s when he implemented what became known as the tricameral parliament, which was such a significant change in the South African political landscape that it required a complete constitutional overhaul. This was undoubtedly the most famous attempt to reform the system of apartheid, and it happened long before anyone even considered disbanding the ANC or the South African Communist Party. The changes Botha made to the South African constitutional order and parliamentary system were so significant that the political dispensation initiated under this presidency deserves to be recognized as distinct from the era of segregation which had preceded it from, one could say, 1948 until Botha took power, as well as the era of multiculturalism which succeeded it, which is the era we are living in today. Stay tuned, because in today's video we are going to uncover some of the best kept secrets of South Africa's 20th century apartheid history. In the early 80s, P.F.W. Botha attempted to completely reform the way that the system of segregation was implemented in South Africa. At that time, international pressure on South Africa was mounting, and Botha experimented with a form of tricameralism in South Africa, which was such a significant change in the way that South Africa was governed that it required a new constitution for this country altogether. For the first time in South Africa's history, Botha introduced a system in which Parliament would be divided into 3 chambers, representing each of the major 3 minority groups in South Africa. But to understand what he had in mind, we have to first understand what tricameralism is in the first place. Tricameralism is a system of governance where the legislature of Parliament is divided into 3 chambers which meet separate from one another. Tricameralism stands in contrast with unicameralism, where the entire parliament meets together, or bicameralism, which is something like you would have in the United States of America, where parliament is divided into 2 different chambers. Today, around 60% of UN member states adhere to a form of unicameralism, while around 40% are bicameral. Tricameral states are extremely rare in the modern era, although many pre-modern kingdoms functionally operated in the same way, with the well-known 3 estates of the clergy, nobility, and the commons. And some of the few modern examples of tricameral parliaments include France, at least for a time, during the reign of Napoleon Bonaparte, which followed the coup of 1799, and France created a deliberately fragmented legislative structure designed to prevent any single parliament from becoming too powerful again after the chaos of the French Revolution. They consequently divided the legislature into the tribunate, the corps, and the senate. Botha's own tricameral parliament, sanctioned under the 1983 constitution as an attempt to reform apartheid, was undoubtedly the most famous of these. What Botha essentially did was to design a system in which South Africa would have 3 separate parliamentary chambers: the House of Assembly, the House of Representatives, and the House of Delegates. Botha thereby effectively extended the national right to vote in South Africa to Indians and coloureds, as each of the 3 minority racial groups voted for their respective representatives to each of the 3 chambers, with coloured representatives elected to the House of Representatives, Indians to the House of Delegates, and of course whites to the House of Assembly. This system remained in place for over 10 years until it was replaced with a fully multicultural system in 1994, when this country of course held its first multiracial or multicultural election. Ironically, despite the fact that Botha's system gave millions of non-whites in South Africa the opportunity to vote in the democratic elections, many left-wing or liberal organizations at the time called upon their constituencies to not go out and exercise their right to vote. The reason the black majority did not receive any representation in this new tricameral parliamentary system is quite simple. They already held citizenship in every one of the black homelands at the time, where they already participated in democratic elections. By December 1981, the Transkei, Bophuthatswana, Venda and the Ciskei had already declared themselves independent countries from South Africa. All four of these states, as well as Gazankulu, Lebowa, Kwakwa and KwaNdebele, also held their own democratic elections and voted for their own governments. Between these 8 black homelands, no less than 28 democratic elections were held between 1972 and 1984, in which members of each of these black tribes enjoyed full democratic voting rights in their own homelands. Interestingly though, this was by no means the first major attempt by a National Party leader to reform apartheid, or more commonly known as segregation, in South Africa. In 1963, 2 years after South Africa first became an independent republic, the Prime Minister of the time, Hendrik Verwoerd, delivered a telling speech at the annual Congress of the Cape Midlands Development Association. In this speech, he reiterated the commitment to the development of South Africa as a commonwealth of distinct nation-states, where each of these various peoples or nations can exercise their right to self-determination on their own home soil. The recognition of certain territories as homelands for each of the black tribes that historically lived in those areas colonized by the British later is very well known and very well documented. But what has largely been hidden from history is the fact that in this very speech, at the height of his political career, Hendrik Verwoerd proposed the idea of an Afrikaner homeland. In a September 1963 speech at the annual Congress of the Cape Midlands Development Association, Verwoerd proposed that the area in and around the Orange River scheme should form the basis of a future Afrikaner homeland in a similar fashion that the various black nations of Southern Africa each have their own homeland. Of course, this would be in the part of South Africa that is almost completely covered by the desert biome and that had no inhabitants before, of course, the Europeans came to this continent. In this homeland, he also clearly wanted to do away with the policy of segregation or apartheid, in which white South Africans make continual use of black labor even while maintaining legally enforced racial segregation within the same town or the same city or just the same geographical area. Verwoerd desired to see an ethnically homogeneous Afrikaner territory develop along the Orange River towards the western part of the country. Referring to the Orange River scheme, Verwoerd stated the following in that 1963 speech. As far as farming is concerned in our irrigation schemes in that region, we must not, as was done in the past with irrigation settlement schemes, make use of the Bantu labor. We will have to develop the agricultural potential of those schemes through our own efforts. The fact that the generation of electricity forms part of that scheme, in fact, would make a substitute for normal labor cheaply available, something we have not yet been able to fruitfully employ in our agricultural activities. Taking note of these attempts by prominent National Party leaders to reform apartheid is quite an important part for our current political discourse in South Africa, because it shows that there really is an alternative to both hard segregation, or what we know as apartheid, and complete integration, or what we now know as multiculturalism, that we see here in South Africa today. It shows that models akin to what the French political philosopher Alain de Benoit described as ethnopluralism, in which national and cultural distinctions are recognized as something to be cherished through the political order of the state itself. Even if we condemn and disagree with the policies of men like Botha and Verwoerd and all the other apartheid leaders, we would do well to consider the objectives of their respective policies as we attempt to do justice to all the various nations inhabiting South Africa today and, quite frankly, not having such a great time of it. And today again in 2026, it is encouraging that influential figures associated with the African Union are now once again seriously calling for self-determination for each of the nations of Southern Africa as a viable option to end the violence and the corruption and the complete mess we currently see of South Africa. You can check out our recent report and analysis of this regard by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now. And please do consider supporting the work and the research we do here at the Willem Petzer Group by becoming a paying member. Simply follow the easy steps on the banner below to invest in us and make sure we are able to do studies and videos such as these every single day. Goodbye and God bless.